German military werewolves.
Yep.
This story occurred in Germany in 1971. I've received other compelling reports of encounters at military bases or installations over the years, and several, like this one, have compared the creature to Anubis. One of the first and most startling of those accounts was published in Hunting the American Werewolf and recounted the sighting made by three night guards at North Chicago's Great Lakes Naval Training Center on Lake Michigan in 1994. Okay, this is close to me. The grounds the witnesses patrolled included a military graveyard, too. In that incident, all three saw the creature standing at the edge of a small wood at about 3 a.m. Wow! I always like when I see 3 a.m. I know it's creepy, but I mentioned this a couple of times on the podcast so far. 3 a.m. is found in many non-Christian pagan beliefs and cultures to be this witching hour between 3 and 4 a.m. Supposedly, it's where the demonic realm is so close to our realm, and
Yeah.
that's supposedly the time where people can be attacked the most. Supposedly, I don't know,
Yeah.
but this is interesting.
I think there's a lot to that because of the idea of it mocking the Trinity.
Mm.
Three, and you get three scratches. Sometimes ghost hunters get three scratches, or events happen in threes. And I often think that might be a mocking of the Trinity, as a reason for why that is. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Revealed by the large flashlights they carried as it stared at them with greenish yellow eyes. The naval guard who wrote to me about the encounter said it was black-furred, with the body of a man and jackal-like head that reminded her of Anubis. It stood 6.5 to 7 feet tall. One of the witnesses was Navajo, and he immediately began to repeat, "Skinwalker, Skinwalker," referring to the conjured creature discussed earlier that is usually associated with the American Southwest and with the Navajo. Whether Skinwalker or Anubis, when it ran away into the darkness, it did so on its hind legs.
Hmm.
So did the creature seen by the next eyewitness, Ian Robertson Molden, a British officer who had yet another name for the creature, werewolf. He wrote, "In 1971, I had just finished military college and was posted to Fellingbostel in northwest Germany as a second lieutenant in the Royal Military Police Special Investigation Branch, so I would have been regarded as a credible witness. During my first week at this location, I had to report to the medical reception center to visit a soldier. Several regiments, including my own, were in a specific area, but the medical reception was around 500 yards away via a footpath, surrounded by a wooded area each side. Hallway to the med center was a small WRVC shop, a little like the American PX. Having visited the soldier, I made my way back to my unit. The whole area was almost desolate, as the division was away on exercise, leaving myself and rear parties. As I approached the WRVS area, I noticed a dog in the undergrowth ahead of me. It looked like a German Shepherd or Alsatian. This gave me a little concern as it was a high rabbis area. I stopped at first, then moved slowly towards the dog. There was no way of avoiding it as it was a mere 10 feet from the path and there was no other way past. I stopped approximately 40 feet from the animal to assess the danger. I was confused about its appearance as the dog had the long snout of a German Shepherd but incredibly long or tall ears. It looked more like the dogs seen in Egyptian hieroglyphics or Anubis. I think its snout and ears were much longer than I have seen on a dog. I think its weight is significant as it was very slender. Standing, it had more of a dog's width of a body, but it certainly was designed to stand and walk, as it was very steady on its feet. Realizing there was no other route, I gingerly started to walk slowly down to the path, keeping it under observation. As I got to around 20 to 30 feet away from it, it stood up on its hind legs. It was around 7 to 8 feet in height. I had no chance to observe further as it started to walk towards me. Oh my gosh. I
Hmm.
would I would die like
I know,
just from
right?
the shock. Whew. Initially, I thought it was some sort of a very thin bear. Thin bear looking like this. Maybe Germans have
Mm,
special type of bears that look like this, but no. As its
no.
body was dog-like, but there are no indigenous bears in that area of Germany. As I mentioned, it resembled ancient depictions of Anubis, but with a dog's body and not humans. Its color was dark brown. From what I could see, a pretty persistent color too. Had it been a dog, it would have had a lighter underside, which it didn't. It sat directly watching me and then stood in complete silence. It made no animal noises of any kind. I don't know what's creepier, if the animal, the beast, was silent or if it had been, roaring and howling. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
think that's pretty creepy.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I noticed so far in all these few stories? No creature so far, because we'll be reading more. No creature so far attacked humans. It's almost like I'm
Mm,
observing you. You're on my territory. It's your time to leave. It's almost like that. So it's like I'm
mhm.
glad that so far there are no human casualties.
It's kind of like a guardian spirit kind of vibe versus an actual real, you know, creature that could actually harm you. But
Yeah, it reminds me of territorial gods who have their territory. So
mm,
are also these demonic principalities that are underneath these gods. And
mhm,
you also see animals behaving in the same way. Like, but also as humans, like if someone or something tries to come in your home, like you want to protect your wife and kids. So
mhm.
in a similar way, I can tell that the animal is almost like I'm observing you. I won't attack you yet, but you should pick up the clues, the signs. That's how
Right? Yeah, I think that makes sense.
yeah. Um, I don't remember. I didn't recall at the time any peculiarity. Sorry, with its eyes. Just appeared to be dark like a bear's eyes. I certainly didn't get close enough to smell it. LOL.
Hmm.
This author is so funny. It was off running again. LOL. To be honest, I ran like hell back to the medical center. In fact, I didn't stop running as I was unsure whether it was following me. As I mentioned previously, there was no other easy way to go back to the garrisons, and I eventually decided to take the long route back via the local town, a trip of around 3 miles. Yeah, I would go 20 miles just to be safe
Right?
if that was needed. Several
Yeah.
days later, still thinking I had seen some sort of dog unknown to me, I mentioned my experience to a female German clerk. She casually said, "Oh, you must have seen the werewolf. You were lucky to escape."
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, she almost said like, "Hey, have some German sausage and beer," and I would enjoy both. But that's how she seemed
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, you saw one of, how in every town or in every city you have a popular place to go and visit, but you also have some people like in Chicago in downtown. We have one preacher who's been there for like 30, 40 years. What he says almost all the time: you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. Everyone knows him, the whole city, the tourists pass by him all the time. He's always like, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. So it's like if you come to Chicago, you will most probably see this preacher. So it's almost like this was like a legend, not a legend that like it's a legendary faulty, but it had legendary status. Like, hey, if you are here in Germany, you have to know about werewolves. Like, it's
Yeah.
inevitable. So that's how I'm perceiving this. Okay, Scott
Yeah.
is saying
Yeah.
yo. That's a very thorough comment on the channel. Yo to you, you too, Scott. I'll be back to reading. So yeah, she just said, "Oh, you must have seen the werewolf." Werewolf was a word Ian had not considered, but his description of the camp's surroundings was certainly creepy enough to make a supernatural wolf creature feel like at home, feel right at home. He continued, "I knew little about Falling Bostel, again, this is place in Germany, when this happened, as I had only been there a few days. Werewolves were quite believed there, apparently, as many sightings had been recorded. As an aside, the whole area was strange. The Falling Bostel cemetery had an armed guard at night due to grave robbing, we assumed. It also
Hmm.
had a heavily fenced grave there of someone called Camilla Karnstein, who the inscription said was either bitten to death by a vampire or was a vampire. Man,
Wow.
this is so much like the Underworld movie, like werewolves and vampires. This is so fun. I enjoy
And
this.
guys with machine guns.
Yeah, yeah, this is so fun. My German wasn't that good at that time. Yeah, poor guy, because if this was like in the 70s, like he said, like they had no Google Translator, so he had to like use books, right? I
Yeah.
asked Ian if he had any more information about the vampire story, and he discovered the name Camilla Karnstein was from a novel about a female vampire published in a serial form around 1872. 26 before the world was introduced to Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Hmm.
The author, Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, probably French, I don't know, may
I
have
think.
based his main character on true horrors such as Elizabeth Bathory, a Transylvanian countess known for grisly murders of hundreds of young girls in what is now Slovakia. Bathory lived from 5060 to 1614, and her shocking acts were well known in Europe. She
Hmm.
was said to have dabbled in cannibalism and also bathed in human blood in the belief it would keep her young. Oh my gosh.
That's
She
a
was
lot
a
of that's a lot of Divine Council worldview giants Nephilim intersections there with the cannibalism and the drinking the blood and stuff.
yeah.
Anyway,
She was
continue. Yeah.
eventually imprisoned for her deeds, and Esed, Hungary is believed to be the site of her body's final resting place. Resting place.
Wow,
I hope she's
man, I
not
didn't.
resting. She didn't repent. I hope she's not resting. That may sound bad, but like for all the evil she did towards people, drank their blood and ate them. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Wow, I didn't know
Okay,
about her. That's crazy.
I didn't know either. Yeah, it's insane. It puts Vlad Impaler to like, hey, you're just a baby, learn from me. This is insane. I wish they make a movie
Yeah.
according to this woman. I was about to say lady,
Right?
but that's not a lady.
Mm-mm. No.
Okay, I have problem reading this, but I'll try because it's super long word in German. Actually, two words. Bad Fallingbostel. Bad translates to bath or spa in German, was once ringed by forests that did contain wolves, and the last known wolf in that region was believed killed in 1872 and is now memorialized with a large rock known as the Wolfstein, or literally Wolf Stone. That
Hmm.
was not that did not mean wolves would never come back to the area. However, wolves have been seen in the former area of that forest as recently as 2012, 40 years after Ian's sighting. Dane, can you please continue?
Hmm. Yeah. Also located near Bad Fallingbostel in Lunenburg Heath area are some 4,000-year-old stone dolmen structures made by ancient Europeans known as the Funelbeker people. The name may sound like something from a chemistry supply store, but it derives from the culture's most noted style of pottery, beaker-shaped jars with funnel-shaped necks. The Bad Fallingbostel dolmen are known as the Seven Stone Houses. Although there are only 5 structures, they were probably used as burial chambers, according to most archaeological studies. I have not come across any particular legends about these dolmens, but ancient graveyards seem to do this trick all by themselves when it comes to attracting mystery creatures. What are dolmens? Is that like Stonehenge? Is that like pillars of stone kind of thing? Or that's what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, I saw photos before. It looks like something like that, but probably smaller. And what was the purpose? I read so much that I forget so much. But I read, but I
Yeah.
think it had some either burial or religious connotation. But it was
Okay.
smaller, something with stones, and it came from the old times, maybe even used by druids. Something in that shape of form.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So this report is not the only one I've received from a soldier who has witnessed a werewolf like creature at a German military facility. In Monsters Among Us, I told the full, so that's a movie she's referencing, I think. I told the full tale of a 1987 sighting at
That's actually
Hohen.
another of her not or her book. She has many books.
Oh, it's a book. Okay.
Mhm.
A 1987 sighting at Hohenfels training area, a U.S. military garrison based near Wolfseg. Wolfseg is about 500 miles from Bad Fallingbostel. An eyewitness in the case was sleeping in his vehicle and awoke to see a 6 to 7 foot tall creature with glowing red eyes peeping into his vehicle's window. That's nice. It left large canine footprints in the nearby mud. A, a third, entirely separate German military base encounter with an upright canid occurred at the Hahn Air Force Base or Air Base near the village of Wenigereth in 1988. Just a year after the Hohenfels incident, it's known as the Moorbach werewolf. The Profound History website posted an account from a retired U.S. Air Force staff sergeant on January 5th, 2018, in which the sergeant noted that the local legend about the alleged creature was well known but generally dismissed by American servicemen stationed there. One night, said the sergeant, a routine patrol came across some strangely mutilated deer carcasses. The discovery was followed by startling, deep, loud howls from an unseen animal. An armed patrol called in saying they were in pursuit of a large, dark canine that was headed for the base command center. The sergeant, hunting with his own patrol unit, saw the huge creature clear a 9-foot fence and then stand upright against a tree as it turned to coolly check out its pursuers before rushing off into the trees. In summary, we have just noted 3 different military bases in Cold War era Germany, separated by 100 to 500 miles, each with its own sightings of large, upright, wolf like creatures from very credible sources. These were military people. This leads me to wonder how many other bases involve similar sightings and whether reports referenced only upright canines or anomalous phenomena as well. I can say that there was at least one such instance of the latter and possible phenomenon involving UFOs, a known obsession of Adolf Hitler's. Take this odd tidbit for what it's worth, a weirdly synchronistic little find that came to light in early 2018 after I inherited a cache of family letters and photos. So, yeah, 2018 is pretty recent.
Yeah, what I want to say that besides military people witnessing all these things, that brings the credibility of the story, but also, I mean, you don't have to buy this book, but it's a great title,
Oh,
Hitler's
yeah.
Monsters. I mean, you can watch documentaries, you can read books. Again, stay away from conspiracies. Get some real scholarly historical, sightings and sources. I mean, it is well known that German soldiers and the government in the World War II, maybe even World War One, was dabbling deep into the occult.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that these wolf-like creatures in Germany had to be a product or byproduct of some occultic experiments that the Germans did in World War II. But if we know that they did something, and all these wolf-like creatures were suddenly, showing around in Germany within the radius of 500 miles, there could be a connection. Maybe I cannot make that statement as, I know 100%. I'm just
Hmm.
saying maybe, you know, we
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. I mean, just the connection to the occult, you have, you know, prior to the Christian era, all the paganism where a lot of this stuff is kind of rooted in, right? And then it kind of went away to a point. Um, I don't know. Maybe I don't know the history real well, but maybe around the Industrial Revolution kind of time frame. And so I just find it kind of interesting that anywhere that you have occult activity, you have stuff like this happening. And to your point about the military experiments and things, and just kind of like some of the MK Ultra stuff where they had people actually trying to test their psychic abilities and attempting to do remote viewing for espionage purposes and things like that. I think all of that can open up. Um, I don't want to say portals, but just something in some way, sort of open up activity in those areas.
Yeah, it's not impossible. It's plausible.